everybody, and welcome to Masculinity Matters. I'm your host, Lomander, and today we are joined by a good friend of mine. He's my GM. He is also like a union guy. His name's Andrew. You know what? I don't know why I'm trying to do this. I do this every single time. Who are you, Andrew? I've realized I don't know a whole lot about like you outside of our games.
Yeah, so I am as you mentioned, I'm a GM. I've been running role-playing games since I was 16 years old, which was a very long time ago. And I love it. It's a passion of mine. Um, Outside of that, I also, you know, like general nerd hobbies. You know, Pro wrestling, Marvel movies, Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it.
Okay,
I
hold on. You
am.
said pro wrestling.
I did, yes.
Current or like used to be a fan and don't watch it as much anymore?
Uh, so kind of current, but I. I was. I mean, I'll be honest. I was a big WWE watcher. Pretty vanilla like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it just got to the point in the last year where Triple H is showing up at the White House with Trump and RFK, and
Yeah,
it was too much. I couldn't do it, so I'm
definitely get that. Definitely get that.
kind of boycotting WWE sort of a little bit. I sort of I keep up on who the champions are and what's going
Yeah,
on, but I don't watch. And I would watch AEW, but I just don't have the energy for it
right.
nor the.
It's so difficult to like go into a different. I keep wanting to call them feds because like federations and whatnot. Because that's what it was called in my day back when I was watching it regularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like to switch over to a new fed and like learn all the wrestlers and their backstories and the storylines and all that. It's just like that's a lot of buy-in. And unfortunately, I'm a WWE guy myself as well. I still watch it on occasion, but like you say, there's a lot of the politics involved is really really frustrating as a fan.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's such good entertainment and it's such a good form of like what feels like masculinely acceptable soap operas,
Yeah.
and it's such a great sport.
I love the storytelling format of it. I mean, I always liken it to ballet with steel chairs.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
um, I think it's spectacular. It's a brilliant art,
Hmm.
and there are some really amazing performers and a
So
lot of
who's
respect.
who's your who's your top three?
Oh man, that's really tough. I God, that's really tough. Um, are we talking modern or all time?
Let's do modern just to make it a little easier.
Okay, modern top three. I feel like I'm so out of the loop. It's hard for me to like
Fair.
even. But like I know that you know, yeah, I'm so out of the loop. I
Yeah.
don't even qualified to give an answer on
No
that.
worries. No worries. Okay. Well,
All for
all time then.
all timers. I'm a big Bret Hart fan. I love Bret
Okay.
Hart.
Okay.
I know that he's a little high on his own supply and
I
all that,
mean,
but
in that wrestling in
yeah,
general.
yeah. And he's just I enjoyed. I've always enjoyed his matches.
Yeah.
Um, Growing up, Rowdy Roddy Piper was actually a favorite of mine.
Okay. Okay.
I really, I just, yeah, I loved his music. I was really into bagpipe music as a kid. I don't know why.
It's
I
fair
blame my
though.
mom. But, but yeah, so Roddy Piper was a big one for me growing up.
Hmm.
More recently, like some of my all-timers, Bray Wyatt was a favorite of mine
Ah,
just for
yeah.
like the promo delivery that he did, like the fact that like he was, he was one of the few, if only, wrestlers who was kind of not scripted. Like he
Yeah.
was just told to go out there and tell a story, and he did. He was phenomenal at it.
Whenever they let him run, like
Mhm.
he could take your imagination and run with it.
Yeah, I mean his matches were, they were there,
Yeah.
but his promos were great.
Mm.
Um, so, and then in his prime, Ric Flair. I mean, he went on way too damn long, um,
Okay.
but but yeah, gotta give respect to the Nature Boy.
No, 100%, 100%. And like, while I am not the biggest fan of Rick myself, I'm a Dusty Rhodes guy.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair. I should have mentioned Dusty. I mean, speaking of best promos of all time, I
I'm
mean,
telling you,
Hart
the
Young.
American dream, the American dream. Uh, but no, that's awesome though. I love hearing about like what people are into like wrestling wise. I think for me, if I'm gonna be picking anybody from the Flair family, I'm really starting to like Charlotte.
Okay.
And I recognize that a lot of that has to do with her most recent work with Alexa and their like tag thing,
Okay.
but like I don't know, man. Flair was just one of those guys that every time that he would start going, I would just he was a love to hate guy. Frankly,
For sure. Yeah.
I didn't like his character. I didn't like his like work, as it were, because it was just like he did what he was supposed to do. He annoyed the shit out of me. So like
Right.
he
And he lived the gimmick. I mean, he was one of those wrestlers who, like, you couldn't really separate Ric Flair the person from Ric Flair the wrestler.
I don't
He
think they
really-
were two different people,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is that.
Yeah. All right, well cool, man. So sorry, got off on like a little wrestling tangent there. Didn't realize that you were into wrestling, so I wanted to like,
Yeah. Yeah.
touch that keystone. So part of the reason why it is that I wanted to talk to you is because one, this gives me an excuse to like get to know you better and learn your story a little bit more. And then two, you are a parent, which is something that I am not, and there is a good chance that I probably never will be. So, I do have a lot of context and a lot of nuance missing in my opinions of masculinity and all of that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, whenever it comes down to it, people like you are the ones who are kind of moving the needle on where people get their conceptualizations of masculinity, because you are raising the next generation of people who are going to have to define those sorts of things. I mean, just if you're comfortable sharing, how old are you?
So I am 44.
44. All right, cool. So, just in the time that you have been alive and aware of the, we'll call it the gender binary, despite the fact of that it's anything but, once you started kind of becoming aware of that gender binary and like the quote unquote expectations of socially man or socialized man uh interactions and all that, like how has that changed since you were a kid to like now?
Oh man. I mean, I grew up in a house full of women. My biological father wasn't in the picture, and my stepdads weren't really much in the picture either.
Mm-hmm.
So it was me and my mom, or my mom, and my sister, for a good chunk of my life. Um, so I think I learned from a really young age to have more appreciation and respect for women, and like more understanding of like just like little things that, like, you know a lot of men might miss.
Yeah.
Um, but that's not to say I was a particularly enlightened child. I mean, I grew up. I was you know raised and washed in toxic masculinity from a young age. I grew up. We were fundamentalist Christian
Ooh.
for a span of time, so there was that component of it. Um, and yeah, somewhere. I mean, I kind of, so in high school I turned like a militant atheist. Nowadays, I'm more like a mellow agnostic, but
Fair.
but yeah, somewhere in my 20s to 30s, I kind of just it wasn't really a single awakening for me, like to the whole gender dynamic. It was gradual, slipping into a pool kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but I will credit my participation in the RPGNet forum as
Okay.
being a big part of why I am who I am today.
What was it
Um,
about that you feel kind of shaped you?
it was my first experience encountering people who were not like me, a white cis dude. Um, there were people of color posting there. There were people who were LGBTQ posting there. A lot of LGBTQ. I mean, RPGNet is .net is very very gay, and I love it.
Yeah.
Um, but you know that whole dynamic just kind of. I mean, I said a lot of stupid things that I regret, and I learned because people would check me and correct me,
Yeah.
and then I would see other people post even dumber stuff and get checked and corrected, and I learned from that too. And um, I feel like it helped. I mean, I am a big believer that exposure to people outside of your own ilk, your
Yeah.
own,
Your own experience.
yeah, yeah, is the number one way to broaden people's
Mm-hmm.
worldviews and get them to be more tolerant and understanding. You know,
100%.
if you've got if if you're a 60-year-old man and your kid comes out as trans, like you might be a jerk about it, and unfortunately lots of people are, but it there's if it's your family, there's a chance, there's just a chance
Yeah.
that you might stop and say, well, maybe what everyone else is saying about trans people is not right because that's my kid or my grandkid and I know them and they're good. And
Yeah.
anyway, I think that exposure to people outside of our bubbles is really good
Yeah.
and really it really helps to broaden and shape.
For sure. And I think that the reason why that's so important, at least as far as what I've seen, is that whenever you only have your experience and you only have the experience of people that look like you, that sound like you, that are of the same like ilk, as you say, of you, then there's a lot of things that you are going to miss
Hmm.
that affect people in a very real and a very palatable way. I remember very specifically growing up, we didn't have any people of color in our town at all. And this family moved in, and because like I'm an overly curious person, I immediately go to like make friends with these people. And as I'm taking the kid, the son who's my age, we're gonna go hang out at like Walmart or whatever because that's what the cool kids did back in my day. Um, then I went there and we were gonna like buy drinks at a Sonic, and I pulled out my wallet which had a Confederate flag on it. Had no idea any of the context of it. It was just something that's been a part of my life ever since I was like knee high to a grasshopper. And as far as I knew, it was just a heritage thing. And plus, like, let's be honest, it's a cooler looking flag than the American one. Like, it's got the X, it's got the stars across. Like, it's, as much as I hate to say it, the bad guys have the best graphic designers. Like,
Yeah.
but I took that out and like dude straight up was just like, really? What do you mean? And then like he had to explain it to me, and I never would have realized that that was something that had that like connotation had somebody outside of my own experience not explained it to me. And then, caused me to then go ask my dad, like, hey man, you want to explain why we have these flags? It was real awkward whenever the time came to like invite him to my house to like I think we were gonna play like Halo or something, and I forgot that I had one in my bedroom. So I had my dad stall him in the living room, like talking to him for a little bit, while I suddenly ran into my room and like ripped this flag down. That I was like, I don't know why I fucking have this, but yeah, getting people outside of your experience, it definitely helps to broaden your horizons about blind spots that you
Yeah.
can have. So, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, you said that you grew up kind of immersed in like toxic masculinity and like that sort of a thing. What did that mean for you? Like, I know that for me, growing up, a lot of the toxicity that I was kind of exposed to, that's the word I'm looking for,
Mhm.
was the like hyper masculine cowboy archetype, where it's like, you know, you don't cry, you don't complain, you do the job, and like blah 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 and all that kind of shit. um if basically if it was oh god, what's John Wayne, is that the name? Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, am I really forgetting the icon of fucking cowboy movies? Anyway, basically if it was John Wayne, that was the masculinity that you were supposed to strive for.
Mhm.
Was that a similar? Did you kind of have a similar experience to that, or was it a little different for you?
Yeah. I mean, so I grew up in like my early childhood was the 80s,
Mm.
and just I mean the you go back and watch movies and TV shows from the 80s now, and it's painful sometimes.
It definitely can be for sure.
Um, it and it's just it's what amazes me is how in your face the toxic culture was,
Hmm.
and just that people didn't think twice about it. It was just accepted. It was just tolerated, and like so, like for us, it was just casual use of the F slur. Um, yeah, and like you said, the idea that boys don't cry,
Hmm.
boys don't you're allowed to have two emotions, anger and anger. um,
Hey, rage is
yeah,
also important.
yes, exactly. Like you're really not allowed to have a range of emotions as a man. Um, and the idea that if someone wrongs you, you settle it with a fight because they wronged you and that's what you do.
Hmm.
Um, and um, yeah, just
I always
that
thought
whole
that was interesting, where like the expectation is always to like go to blows immediately. Like I remember very specifically like having people explain whenever I would have like an argument with a friend of mine that was a boy, that well, you two just need to box it out, and then you'll be friends again or whatever. And the idea was that like you were supposed to physically fight your friends to like stand up for things and like kind of stand in your square or whatever. And that shit made no sense to me. That it was like, instead of trying to communicate and have a dialogue, let's harm one another and potentially hurt each other for extended periods of time.
yeah.
You grew up with mom, sisters, in a very like arguably would say feminine energy household.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I will say that, like, my mom, speaking of John Wayne, like, she idolizes John Wayne. Um, my family was very conservative
Mm.
and had very old-fashioned ideas about how things should be done. So, yes, it was definitely a feminine energy, but unfortunately, there was also like a lot of um, internalized, um, you know, misogyny.
Misogyny, yeah.
Yeah. My sister, not so much. My sister's always been kind of going against the grain. She's been her own person.
Yeah.
But my mom, and I love her, but like growing up, she was very like, um Yeah, she had absorbed a lot of bad messaging and a lot of
Yeah.
toxic ideas.
No, and that's one of the things that I don't think people really talk about a whole lot is that when we talk about the socialization of boys and the socialization of people who are male presenting in the world, um, we always talk about like toxic masculinity coming from the masculine figures in their lives. But one of the things that I've noticed, at least, is that when I think of all of the people who who like emasculated me in my life and made me feel as if I wasn't presenting as a man properly, a lot of the time it was the women in my life. Like my mom used to be the type of person who was like, well, you have to be tough, you have to suck it up, you can't cry, blah 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 blah, and all that. And like she was the one who was telling me that like I couldn't have these emotions and such like that. So I kind of understand where you're coming from with like that she was kind of socialized to believe a certain way that men are supposed to present, and because of that it kind of informed the way that she kind of raised you, right?
It did, yeah. And you know, like not 100%. Like there was something like my mom, she was she worked
Mm-hmm.
because she was a single mom,
Yeah.
and so she was pretty independent in that respect, but also like she was very much kind of basically a serial monogamous. My mom had four husbands.
Okay.
Um and so just that was, growing up like that was kind of what it was modeled to me was that you have to have someone in your life, like you
Yeah.
need you need someone. You can't be alone, because if you're alone then something's wrong.
Yeah, then something is wrong with you, or something bad is happening or something like that.
Yeah.
I had kind of a Well, I mean, now that I think about it, I kind of had a similar experience with my mom, but then an opposite experience with my dad. I grew up in a divorced household. Spent like 35 days a year with my mom, and then the rest of the time was with my dad slash grandparents. Um, but my mom was very similar to what you were saying with like having constantly having to have somebody in her life that like I don't know, maybe gave her a sense of like grounding or something like that. Um, and then my dad, on the other hand, he was very much the like isolate loner, like completely separate yourself from everybody whenever you're having all this kind of stuff. Cause yeah, like after him and my mom got divorced, I think he had one other relationship after that was like 6 months, and then that was it for like 20 something years until he died.
Okay.
But yeah, and like that really gave me a kind of a skewed view of like how relationships are supposed to be, because like my dad was very much the like, God, was my dad an incel before like incels? I think he might have been. Anyway, he very much had like that incel mindset of I'm not the problem, they're the problem, I'm great. And then my mom, on the other hand, was just basically the type who was just like, I need somebody to consistently validate me that I am important and that I matter.
Yeah.
Which, like, just saying, not a parent, but to the parents out there, that kind of mentality really fucks your kids up.
Yeah.
I speak from experience. So, as a parent now, what are some of the things that you feel like were good that you got from like your raising that you're kind of passing on as like good, positive, like masculine stuff? And then more importantly, like what are some of the bad things that you are kind of now trying to change and like flip the script whenever it comes to your kids?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that I took away from my parents that I tried to impart with my kids is so my bio dad was not a good person, wasn't really in my life a whole lot, thankfully, but wasn't a good person. And I was adopted at 7, 8 years old by my stepdad, who
Mm.
I just call my dad. And he was, I mean, he had his problems. If he were alive today, he'd probably be a Trump voter, unfortunately. But there were some things he taught me that I will never be able to repay him for. He gave me a love of like a lifelong love of reading. He took me on a cross country trip from Washington State to Maryland
Nice.
um, to go see his family. Just gave me experiences that really were priceless. But the thing that I took from him is that he took me in, and he didn't have to. I mean, yeah, he married my mom, and so I was a package deal with that. But he didn't have to adopt me. Like he didn't have
Yeah.
to give me his last name, and he did. And um, so speaking of serial monogamous and multiple marriages, unfortunately, I kind of followed my mom's path and had multiple wives. But my third wife, she had when we got together, she had a 2-year-old, um, and I I mean, pretty much from the beginning, I kind of bonded with this child and really grew attached to them. And um, they grew up pretty much knowing me as their only dad.
Yeah.
Um, like my bio dad, their bio dad is not really in the picture,
Hmm.
and it just it's something that I wanted to pay forward. Basically, the
Yeah.
idea that I was taken in when I didn't have to be, so I wanted to do the same for this kid. I wanted to be there for them and be their dad, and we're very close. Like this kid messages me pretty much every day, if not every other day.
Yeah.
We FaceTime quite a bit. They live up in Oregon, but just I am very lucky to have that kid in my life and feel really grateful for them.
I mean, it sounds
Um,
like they're lucky to have you in their life too, frankly.
I hope so. I try to be like, yeah, I try to be good, like a good influence on them, and to be there for them and be supportive of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it definitely sounds like your dad, if I can just call him that. It sounds like your dad really kind of instilled in you that sense, kind of a sense of responsibility, I guess, for something that you care about. Which to me, like, whenever I talk to people on this show, one of the things that I like to ask is like, what is a man, and like, what does that mean? And one of the things that I've kind of seen as like a through line through a lot of people is like a sense of responsibility, a sense of like personal responsibility that exists to try and like improve the situation for the things around you. And it kind of sounds like, to me at least, that like that's kind of what both your dad and you were doing, was recognizing that there was like a need there, and that like that was something that you could do, is like take responsibility for what this the upbringing of this person, and then just like giving them a sense of like security. And like, I don't know, I think that's really rad, and I think that's a pretty like masculine like dude thing that I think is really cool. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It meant a lot to me, and it continues. It's a way I can honor my dad,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of how I view it. As for things that like I am trying to do differently, like so it you know I moved around a lot,
Hmm.
um, from uh, uh, from 2013 to pretty much 2017. I moved from Alaska to North Dakota to Oregon to California.
God
Um,
damn.
yeah, I kind of every 2 years I would pick up stakes and move to a new place, and there was always a good reason. Like, it was either I needed to get the hell out of Alaska, I needed to get the hell out of North Dakota, I wanted to be closer to family in California. Like, just there's always a good reason. But like when you're moving your kids like that it's hard
Oh
on
yeah.
them. It takes away something that they're not going to ever have, is like that lifelong childhood friend that they knew from when they were knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
um it in some ways it can be a benefit because it teaches them resiliency a lot of times, but like that's not it's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say that because like it can also teach the opposite. It can teach
Yeah.
anxiety and
No, it definitely seems like a very a very perilous tightrope to walk, where it's like and I feel like that's just parenting in general, is that like you're trying to balance like resiliency versus like over, I don't want to say abuse, but like over independence where it feels like they're abandoned, I guess.
yeah,
And it's like, and yeah, like that just, man, being a parent seems so stressful. Like,
it is. And I mean, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Like
yeah.
I like I can't tell you how much being a parent changed me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially like you know when I first became a parent, like that when my firstborn was born, like it's like a light switch flipped inside me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that was actually another big thing that like really led me to become um more aware and more like passionate about like toxic masculinity and how to push back against it.
Yeah.
Um it because my oldest is AFAB, and and I just like I realized like, oh my God, I just brought a a baby girl into the world
Yeah.
that doesn't really treat girls and women very well.
Yeah.
And it's scared the hell out of me.
I can imagine.
And I'm ashamed in a way that it took having a kid, a girl of my own, to really like have that awakening. But I mean, it's just how the cards played, and I that's just what it took for me.
Yeah. We're all human.
And yeah, uh, but yeah, that was a really big, from there, then I went to college because after I had my firstborn, I realized I didn't want to like I wanted to do something, with my life. I didn't want to be doing what I was doing at the time. Um, and college courses, of course, helped a lot. Like I learned a lot and learned different perspectives. And again, was exposed to different people
Yeah.
from different walks of life, and so that really helped shape me as well.
Yeah. No, and I think I think like one of the things that I learned, especially because like growing up, so like I'm 37, so like growing up, mostly in like the 90s and early 2000s, like early aughts, college was pushed as like, this is like your only like avenue to be able to like go and such like that. Over the course of the last 20 years, I have learned that the most important thing that most of the people that I know who have gone to college have gotten from the college experience is experiencing people who have led radically different lives than them and connections that could help them in their careers.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
about it.
Yeah.
Everything else they've been like, yeah, like I could have learned most of the stuff that I use now. I didn't learn in college. I learned on the job, or I learned
Mhm.
through life.
Exactly. I
Um,
mean, that was my experience. Like, I mean, once I was a journalist for 15 years, and my career started in college. And like once I started working for the student newspaper,
Hmm.
I I was a terrible student because like I just that wasn't my priority. That wasn't where I was really learning was in the classroom. I mean, yes, I was learning stuff in the classroom. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like say that I wasn't, but where I was really learning, like where the actual
Where the
experience that
synapses were forming, where the stuff was
yeah
actually going down.
was working for the student newspaper. And
Yeah.
so I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that. And I don't regret it because especially like for journalism, it's yeah, where you went to school might open some doors for you, but it's your clips, it's what you've produced that gets you jobs.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I wouldn't recommend college to my worst enemy. but it was a good experience for me, and so we won't
Speaking
talk
as
about my student
somebody,
loan.
yeah, right. No, but speaking as somebody who didn't go to college and went directly into the workforce, uh, they both have their ups and downs.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I've kind of noticed that's been a little bit of a through line through our conversation today is that we've talked a lot about toxic masculinity. And I feel like we've kind of talked about it as if it is this like defined thing that we can like specifically point to and just be like, ah, yes, that right there, that is the toxic version. Um, but as I have learned in the production of this show and doing this work, what we believe as things that are easily definable are never as easy to define as we think they are. That is why every episode so far, when I have asked the question, "What is a man?" it is followed by about 2 to 3 minutes of, "Well, you know." Um, so, so with that being said, I'm going to ask, what is toxic masculinity?
I'm glad you asked that because but prior to coming on here, I was asked that. I mentioned I was going to be coming on this show and what it was about, and they were like, "Well, what's toxic masculinity?" And I was like, "So for me, toxic masculinity is it's the poisoning of men. It
Okay.
is and women because I mean the patriarchy oppresses us all, but I mean toxic masculinity is this it's this refusal to allow men to experience the full range of their emotions. It's this idea uh, that men are to provide for a family, and that if you are not providing for a family, you are weak or deficient in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but really, I mean, I think it's the poisoning of men. Like
Okay.
it's this idea. It poisons you into thinking that you know women that women owe you something, or that you're owed
Mm-hmm.
whatever, whether it's love or sex or companionship or what have you. um yeah,
Okay.
that's the best answer I can give for that.
No, and that's fair, and that's one of the things that I think is really interesting is that it's like it's something. There was a politician once that I think this was like during who is it, like Tipper Gore and all them, whenever they were talking about censorship and all that. But it was like about a pornography ban, and somebody in Congress or the House or something said, well, what is pornography? How do you define that? And he's like, well, I know it when I see it. And I feel like that's kind of kind of how we've like viewed toxic masculinity. It's like we always know it when we see it, but we can't really like what is it though. And for me, I've felt like and tell me if this is kind of where you were going with it too. where it's like toxic masculinity is taking an immutable, right? Immutable is unchangeable, or is something you don't
Right.
have control over, right?
Immutable is unchangeable.
Maybe not immutable then. Fuck, there's a word that means you don't have control over the choice or whatever. But anyway, you're taking something that people don't have control over, putting that into a position of power, and then exploiting that power. And I feel like toxic masculinity's expression 90% of the time is effectively either trying to prevent feeling helpless or uh, ex- exhibiting power over another person. Um, and I think that like because of the patriarchy and all that, it gives an advantage to acting in those ways in order to like kind of maintain those systems. But I also think that like the reason why it's quote unquote toxic is because it is taking something that can be good and then manipulating it into something else. The idea of taking responsibility, for instance, very good trait for anybody to have, a very good thing for people to do. So like, for instance, you taking responsibility for your kid and like adopting your kid and all that and so on and so forth, fucking great, awesome shit, like it's wonderful. But then you could take that a step further. And then now, well, you're my kid, so you have to dress a certain way. You have to present a certain way. You're not going to you're not going to wear that bullshit in my house or whatever. And then that's whenever that like masculine expression of taking responsibility then gets toxified because now you're using that to exploit somebody else or to lord power over that other person.
Good way of putting it. Yeah, I think that yeah, it's kind of yeah, it's taking and twisting something that can be good. Like the in and of itself is not good or bad, but can be used for either, and it's the negative version of that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so what's one of the ways that like you have kind of avoided falling into those traps?
Um, I mean, a big thing that I try to do, and I'm not perfect about this, but like I really do try, is I try to listen, especially to people, especially to women and to people of color and to queer people, um, um, who offer perspectives that I don't have
Yeah.
and can't have because we live just because that's the way it is. Um, and yeah, I really I try to just listen and observe
Mm-hmm.
and learn that way.
Okay. So it kind of just it's kind of like taking a second before like doing things and kind of thinking about like maybe like consequences or how these things might affect people. That's one of the things that I try to do as well is like is try and stretch those empathy muscles a little bit in a world that tells us that empathy is weak, which is so wild to me.
Yeah.
Especially growing up evangelical Methodist. What? That's the point of the message. I thought was empathy. Um,
Yeah.
but but yeah. So when it comes to like toxic masculinity in general, um, what do you see as like the number one kind of I don't want to say unsolvable, but like issue with like men and boys today that you see as something that maybe we can kind of course correct a little bit easier or a little bit better, or even something that like I don't know you feel like is going to be a problem for decades to come.
Um, I think one of the biggest, like, I won't say it's unsolvable, but it definitely is a big task. Is the the I'm trying to think of the way to put this. Basically, we need to destroy the algorithm.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
we need to like we corporations, these big tech billionaires have commodified.
Are we about, are
That's
we are
sorry,
we
that's
about
my
to get into our anti-capitalist bag?
union flag flying. But they've commodified uh, misogyny
Yeah.
and found profit in it, and so the algorithm, whether it's YouTube or any social media service, pretty much, um, is just it's designed to feed you content that further radicalizes you, further engages you, further enrages you. Um,
While also isolating you.
yeah, exactly. And people have never been more connected, and yet they've never been more alone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that has done just catastrophic damage
Yeah.
to the fabric of manhood and boyhood in the world, not even this country. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. No, let's not pretend like people like Mr. Tate weren't in Romania doing their dastardly deeds. Um, so how do you feel like we can kind of course correct that a little bit? I have ideas, but I would love to hear yours.
Well, I think that you know we start by taking our power back, and making ourselves heard. You know, um, protest is a powerful thing. Civil disobedience is a powerful thing. Um, Boycotts are a powerful thing. Um, Strikes are a powerful thing. Uh, Withholding our labor, withholding our money, withholding our time, that's power, and it's something that no one can take from us. Um, yeah, Workers of the world unite.
I'm telling you, right?
But yeah, I think that's a good start. I think that you know I, you know, it's really easy to become so cynical that you believe that politics can't change things.
Yeah.
I refuse to do that. I consider myself a weary optimist that I believe that it is still possible to elect people who can make a difference. Um, and so voting helps, putting people in power who know the score and are on the right side of the fight. And if they're not on the right side of the fight, like for the right reason, that doesn't really matter. Sometimes the worst people are on the right side of history for the worst reasons,
Yeah.
and that's fine as long as they're on the right side of history. Look at Winston Churchill,
Ugh.
grade A bastard,
Mm-hmm.
but he fought Nazis, and that buys you something.
I was about to say it's definitely better than some of them back then.
Yeah.
One of the things that you had mentioned was that it was like being kind of hopelessly I don't remember how you put it, but like hopelessly optimistic or something. But there's a YouTube creator, Deja, who coined the term tragic optimism.
I like that.
Yeah, if you get an opportunity, I'll send you the video after this. It's actually a really good concept that I'm really trying to incorporate into my life. But yeah, it's tragic optimism, where it's like the idea of like, yeah, things are shit, but like we can't not have hope, right? Like we have to at least have hope that things can get better. Otherwise, what the fuck are we even doing here?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is like an actionable thing that I think we can do, especially in like our daily lives, to try and like combat toxic masculinity and kind of combat the algorithm, especially, is like creating third spaces again. places where people can go and exist with each other in a physical way where there is no expectation of commercial output or monetary requirement.
Hmm.
Check out your local libraries, kids. But yeah, it's like I think that's one of the big things that especially after COVID that I think has really gone away, that has prevented a lot of the outside perspectives that like you and I were talking about earlier that kind of helped kind of inform the way that we present ourselves in the world. Because like if I go to like a, I don't know, we'll say a bar or something, or like a show, like a music show or a music festival, guaranteed there's going to be hundreds of people from hundreds of different walks of life at that show. And if I come up there and I step out of line and do some toxic bullshit and some guy decks me, I'm gonna not do that again. Like I'm gonna not walk up and say whatever bullshit I said to get myself smacked. And that is kind of society kind of course correcting. And I think that like especially with COVID and all that like we've kind of eliminated those spaces for men and boys. And the only ones that we really have either A, require a monetary investment of some variety, or B, are just like so inundated with toxic bullshit that
Yeah.
it's hard to get anything positive out of it. My mind immediately goes to like gym culture, which
Yeah.
has gotten a lot better. Like I've found a fair amount of people in the gym world that are okay. Gym bros, don't come for me for God's sakes. But gym culture as it existed, especially as I remember it existing, was like a hotbed for like douche bro masculinity, toxic masculine assholes.
Yeah.
So I think that like third spaces are really, really important and kind of need to be conceptualized a little bit better to fit the world that we like exist in now.
And they need to be funded.
I mean, look, it's like what they said in Independence Day. We're spending like $5,000 on a hammer and $20,000 on a toilet seat, and it's all
Yeah.
going to the Defense Department. Remember,
Yeah.
kids, the Defense Department hasn't passed an audit in the entire, or the Pentagon hasn't passed an audit the entire time it's been around. You want to know where your money's going? Look there first.
Hmm.
Any hoozles. So, one thing that I think you would have an interesting perspective on, if you'll indulge me a little bit. What is your thought on like men's mental health in general, and like how society views it? Is it something that like, do you feel like men's mental health is important?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I feel like in some ways it's gotten better and in some ways not so much.
Okay.
But I feel like, for example, I feel perfectly comfortable saying I see a therapist and I love my therapist. She is a fantastic human being and keeps me level, keeps me on an even keel. Um, I think everyone should have a therapist because it they do a lot.
Yeah.
They can help you again see things from outside of your own head, and put things into perspective that you might be struggling with. But um, that said, like I do think that it's more acceptable to discuss mental health, mental illness now than it has been in the past. I mean,
I can agree with that.
the concept of like taking a mental health day didn't exist when I first started working. I mean, it still only kind of semi exists right now, depending on where you work.
In most of the industries that I've worked in, it still doesn't.
If you work at McDonald's, I don't think they're going to let you take a mental health day. Like that's just not
Nah.
the culture there.
Nah.
But it's starting to be a thing. At least it's a thing in some places, and I hope that continues. I mean, I think mental health days are absolutely as valid as a physical health sick day.
I
There are
think they're
just some,
essential personally.
yeah, there's some days when I cannot work. I'm not fit to work. I will not give a good product. So, I need to take the day to myself.
Yeah, and the fucked up part about that is that if capitalists truly gave a shit about their bullshit of like continuous growth and all that kind of stuff, they would support mental health days, because every fucking study has shown happy employees are more productive employees. More productive
Yeah,
employees are more profitable employees. But
yeah,
no, corporatism.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I think in a lot of ways it hasn't gotten better because there is still like a stigma. And you know I can tell you that if I were doing a job interview, I probably wouldn't be discussing the fact that I have chronic depression or generalized anxiety. Um,
Speaking as somebody who is very open about those things in every job interview that I have had over the course of the last 4 years, it's a good idea, because you won't get a call back.
yeah. Um, it's just, yeah. So I don't know. I I consider myself, I guess, a tragic optimist on that as well.
Right? No, and I think that like mental health has gotten a lot more important in like society, as like a societal, like society recognizes it as a need more than they ever have before.
But
But
I think there's a danger. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go good, go good.
I think there's a danger with that recognition. It just kind of occurred to me like what we've seen is kind of a weaponization of terms.
Yep.
Um, so like terms that are perfectly valid in the mental health field. Triggered is obviously a big one, but there are other ones. Now we see freaking Stephen Miller using the term gaslighting.
Oh God.
Um,
Yeah.
and just yeah, unfortunately, the downside to mental health being more well understood is that it's
It's getting
also
weaponized.
weaponized by bad actors.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that was something I hadn't even like considered whenever I was saying that, but like that's a really really good point. But yeah, like I think it's gotten a lot more acceptable and popular in like the overall societal expectation, but I think that there's still a separation between like talking about it and then actually doing it and being about it.
Yeah.
I think that like as society, we are giving the lip service to mental health support that I think is expected of this time of societal evolution, as it were. But I think whenever it comes to the actual like process of getting mental health help, I think that men are way behind the eight ball.
Oh yeah.
I think that we have been so indoctrinated by like patriarchal expectations and imperialistic capitalism that like we have to, like, stoicism basically tells us that we have to do everything on our own, and that like the idea of asking for help is inherently weak, despite the fact of that like we as human beings would never have survived if it wasn't for us getting together. And like I wish that I think that like mental health has evolved too in a lot of ways, but I don't think that it has evolved in the ways that are most beneficial to socialized males, like socialized men. Because if there's one thing that I've noticed, especially with a lot of the discussion around mental health, it's that mental health has generally been a pretty, man, this may I don't know why I'm so worried about saying this, but um mental health has been a very feminine dominated field.
Hmm.
And because of that, a lot of the therapies that were developed in mental health and like talk therapy and all that follow a lot of the same lines that benefit the more feminine leaning or feminine socialized people. within this patriarchal structure. And I think that's partially by design because it maintains the alienation of men so that they continue to feel like their worth is based upon a production quota. And then once they cannot meet up with that quota and become a less productive worker, they kill themselves. Then like I feel like that's part of the reason why like it is that way. But I think that we're really behind as a society on like the different methodologies of mental health support that would be more beneficial to people who don't or can't currently be served properly by the supports we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, another facet of it is just the availability of mental health.
Yeah.
It's so damn difficult to even find a therapist, much less afford one. If your insurance covers it, it's a minor miracle.
Mm-hmm.
If you have insurance, um, it's it needs to be more widely available, and it also needs to be along those lines better tailored to reach out to the demographics that aren't being served by it
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, no, and I think that we really also I think as a society we would do ourselves I think we do ourselves a disservice by like not giving credit to some of the ways that people get mental health support that are not I guess I don't know academized medicine. I don't think academized is a word. Anyway, but like traditional medicine that requires academia and such like that. Because like some of the best mental health support that I have ever received in my entire life was by like a dude that bought me a fucking shot at a bar once because he said I look like I'm down and could use it. And then we talked for like 2.5 hours and like both of us walked away from that conversation feeling more hopeful about the world than we ever had before. And like nobody's gonna say that like, oh yeah, that dude was like a therapist or whatever, but like he was. And like a bartender, don't make your bartender your therapist. Let them come to you with that shit. But people like that, like bartenders and such, have been like therapists for generations of drunks for the last millennia, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So I think that like we would do well to like expand what we view as like mental health stuff. But then I also feel like we need to get better about making it feel like it's not weak.
Destigmatize it. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that destigmatize it. That's the $2 word I was looking for. All right. So, being that you have chitlins and well, I guess not little ones running around. One of the things that I kind of want to like wrap around on is whenever it comes to like the next generation, whenever it comes to like your kids, whenever it comes to like people that you come into contact with, whether it be grandkids, cousins, nieces, nephews, children on the street, I don't know. What are some things that you believe are important to teach people, the next generation especially, when it comes to like the gender binary, whenever it comes to like masculine presentation in general, and then like as a secondary question to that, like what are some things that you feel like we can leave in the past?
Gosh, things that I want to teach my kids with respect to the gender binary and the yeah. I mean, I want to teach them that you know smash the patriarchy, man. Like, don't put up with it. Like, you are owed more than you know You are owed more than what the patriarchy says you are owed. Like you are owed dignity, you are owed respect, you are owed the right to live your life on your terms as long as it hurts no one else. Um, I don't know. That's a tough question.
I'm
Uh,
full of them, buddy. I'm full of them.
yeah. I just, I want to teach them. I mean, I want to teach them to have each other's back. I want to teach them you know, to support each other and
Yeah.
I want my kids to support each other um, it's been really important to me to have them like. So I have four kids,
Yeah.
and getting them all together it's like. I mean, I feel like a general commanding an army. Like all the logistics that involved in getting them all together in one place. It's a huge challenge, but
Yeah.
a good one. Um, but it's important to me because I want them to have that connection to each other, especially because they don't get to see each other all the time. They only get to see each other, once or twice a year. So it's really important that they learn that this is who you're going to have to count on when you're older, and you never know what's going to happen, what's going to come what may. But
Yeah.
you know they're family.
Yeah.
um and so that's important to me. As for things that can be left in the past, I mean, on the notion of family, I'm a big believer that family is not blood.
Mhm.
Not necessarily, it can be. I'm a big believer that family is what you make it. It's who you choose. Family is chosen.
Yeah.
I have an uncle who can die for all I care. He's not a good person. Um, I don't consider him family. He might be blood, but he's not family.
Yeah.
Um, I, and I have, you know, people in my life who are not blood, who are family. Um, so this notion that blood over everything, this all that, like, you know, that can go away because a lot of times that's used as cover for abuse. It's used as
Hmm.
cover for toxic behavior. Well, you have to put up with them because they're blood. You know, screw that. No, you don't. You don't have to put up with anything.
And I am a firm believer in the idea of blood is thicker than water, except the actual quote, which is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got a number of family members that I do not associate with, that I do not talk to, because they refuse to evolve and get out of their own bullshit. And I think that one of the things you mentioned is something that I agree with wholeheartedly, as far as like next generation and such like that, is community in general.
Yeah.
Like having like your siblings and like family and all that kind of stuff is really really important. And speaking as somebody who has no blood relation really that I talk to very much, except for like my sister, but like hundreds of found family that exist in both my community and in my like personal life. I think that is one of the things that is of pivotal importance across the board: male, female, man, woman, other, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that we are starting to get to a point where we're realizing that the societal frameworks that our ancestors took so long to build are really being stress tested right now. And I think that we're going to have to start relying on more community based things as things progress further into
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we do that, fellas, is by not being toxic masculine douchebags. Andrew, how do you feel? Think that's good?
Yeah.
Feel good about it? Cool. So, with that being the case, let's bring this puppy in for a landing. I am not nearly as cool as people like Sean Evans. I don't have multiple cameras that I can point to and tell you to tell people things. But I do know that you do some stuff on the interwebs, at least as far as like, you know, your jobs and whatnot. So why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you do, and what you're all about?
Absolutely. So you should get on Blue Sky because Blue Sky is great. It hasn't been ruined yet. It's like Twitter before Elon Musk took it over. There's no algorithm feeding you, content that you're not following. None of that. It's a reverse chronological feed, and it's beautiful. So you can find me on Blue Sky, Andrew Sheeler, Sheeler. And I am. If you Google me, you'll see a lot of the stuff that I've written. I am kind of a known quantity in that respect. I am a proud union communicator, and yeah.
All right, cool. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it and you. I'm glad that we got to have this conversation since most of our interactions are through a GM screen effectively.
Yeah.
So I greatly appreciate you taking the time, buddy, and thank you for being what I believe to be an exceptionally positive masculine figure that I can see, and it seems as if you are putting that good energy out into the world. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that you get credit for that and that you get a little bit of flowers for doing the things that you do. And what you do outside of, like, you know, your family and all of that is super fucking important in the world, and I really appreciate everything you do. And now that I've gotten to do that on video to where you can't like deny it and like, you know, tell me that it's not true and whatnot, I'm gonna shut this thing down. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And as always, be the man that you needed whenever you needed somebody, because we need them more than ever these days. Stay safe. We'll see y'all later.